Welcome to the LDS Mental Health Podcast. This is a podcast for faithful women who want healing in their relationships, guidance from God, and internal peace. Each week, you'll hear mental health concepts taught through a spiritual lens from me, a licensed clinical mental health counselor, to help you start thinking in a higher and holier way. Welcome. On this episode, we will discuss how to tell if you're having revelation and receiving a prompting or just having thoughts. You know the number one thing that causes you to have decision fatigue in your life is not knowing you're having a thought or a prompting. The more decisions you make throughout the day, the harder each decision becomes. Eventually, your brain just looks for shortcuts to circumvent decision fatigue and really leads you to poor decision making or even inaction and procrastination. Do you ever find yourself there in that place? And you're just not sure what to do or not wanting to do it because you're too exhausted. Or you might be getting, if you're feeling that way, you might be getting decision fatigue. Also, the decisions that you do often end up making are poor ones that involve the care of your own mind and body because you sacrificed all your decision-making ability and energy on all those others throughout the day. And I see so many women making one very big mistake in this regard. They start thinking that every good thought is the Spirit telling them it's a prompting. So then they start acting in the name of Christ to help everyone else to the point of exhaustion because helping someone else is a good thought, right? Well, I'm going to have an unpopular opinion here. I don't think that all thoughts that pop into our mind to do good things are promptings, because it isn't what the action is that makes it a prompting, but the motivation behind it. Now, hang on with me here while I explain a little concept so that you kind of know what I mean here. We all have the natural man inside of us that can have thoughts, and we have a true divine self that has promptings. So by spiritual law, the natural man cannot receive revelation, only thoughts. That's because the natural man is an enemy to God, meaning opposing force from God, and is not in alignment with God's will. The natural man has the opposite motivation from God. The natural man's sole motivation is self-focused. So when we are self-focused, we will be coming from a place of never-ending not enoughness. And the reason you can fall into this trap of never feeling good enough is because we're trying to feel fulfilled without God. That's impossible. Acting on a thought from this state will never feel good enough. This will only reinforce thoughts like, that wasn't enough. That won't make a difference. That was stupid and unnecessary. I never saw a result, so it didn't make a difference. Also, acting on thoughts from the natural man keeps us from acting on revelation again because it feels unnecessary. So this can then build distrust in yourself and a feeling of distance from God. And then you'll start questioning what you're being told and start wondering if you're having a thought or a prompting. So one way to tell if you're acting on a thought from the natural man is having an urgent feeling to do it for self-gratification, to feel better about yourself. I know you're thinking, but wait, Nikki, doesn't service do that for you? Doesn't service make you better? And it does, but only done from the right state of mind. I'm sure you've served and at the end of it felt like that probably didn't make a difference anyways, or they never said thank you, or I don't know what I was supposed to do that for. That's the natural man. Your divine self receives inspiration because your divine self is connected to God and receives a fluid stream of revelation and promptings. So anything done in this state is done for the building up of the kingdom of God. In your divine self, you can still feel nervous about doing the prompting, but you can also have a sense of peace at the same time. You can have clarity, but not a full understanding of what will happen. So following a prompting out of your divine self will give you confidence, a feeling of self-love, and you feel better. But it isn't the reason you're doing it. Following a prompting from the natural man will feel satisfactory. It will never feel satisfactory. And we're only doing it for ourselves, not for the greater good of building up the kingdom of God. So if you're encountering decision-making from your natural man all day long, you can see how exhausted you can get, never knowing if you're making the right decision, or also having a follow-up of flooding thoughts about not feeling good enough, or even if that decision will ever make a difference. If you could start to recognize when you were receiving revelation, you could move forward quicker. You could have more satisfaction in your decisions and have more energy to take care of you in the process. I love this quote from President Gordon B. Hinckley about this very subject. He said, "How do we know the things of the Spirit? How do we know that it's from God? By the fruits of it. If it leads to growth and development, if it leads to faith and testimony, if it leads to a better way of doing things, if it leads to godliness, then it's from God. If it tears us down, if it brings us into darkness, if it confuses us and worries us, if it leads to faithlessness, then it is of the devil." So there it is. What is the result? How is it making you feel? Learning to make decisions from your divine self is the most effective way to cut down decision fatigue and be able to make better decisions to care for yourself. Now, I also want you to know that not following a prompting can open up Satan to convince us not to follow through and ignore a prompting altogether. So have you ever had like this clear prompting and felt uncomfortable, like you didn't, and then you didn't do it right away? Then you had a thought like, I don't even know that person. I don't know what I would say, or I don't know how to do that thing you're asking me to do anyways. So following the promptings opens up access to God's powers to do what you couldn't do on your own. Having thoughts like, I should feel comfortable when I receive a prompting, otherwise it's not a prompting, opens up the power of Satan to pull us away from our divine self. Elder Razvan said, "We must be confident in our first promptings. Sometimes we rationalize. We wonder if we're feeling a spiritual impression or if it's just our own thoughts. When we begin to second guess, even third guess our feelings, we are dismissing the Spirit. We are questioning divine counsel. First promptings are pure inspiration from heaven. When they confirm or testify to us, we need to recognize them for what they are and never let them slip past." Now, learning about the natural man and knowing when you're acting from that state is a big concept, but vital to receiving revelation and decreasing decision fatigue. So making decisions from the natural man state can cause a lot of stress in your life. In fact, the natural man is the main contributor to most stress in your life, which is why I've created an exciting new class. I've never taught this class before, and it's called Sink Your Stress Spiritually. If you are a faithful woman who is feeling stressed, distracted, and overwhelmed, and you'd like to rid your mind and body of the stress in less than 20 minutes without interrupting your busy day, then you're going to want to learn the mental health skills taught through a spiritual lens that I teach in this class. When you join us for this 90-minute one-time class, you'll walk away with being able to feel peace and clarity in your thoughts to make decisions simply. You'll have more energy and motivation to tackle your to-do list, and you'll understand how to easily tell if you're having a thought or a prompting. And as soon as you register for the class, you'll be sent an email with the workbook and the Zoom link for the class. So this class is not therapy, but it is the same type of mental health skills I teach to my therapy clients. However, they're taught with gospel terminology. It's also the same skills I teach in my individual coaching sessions for like an 80% discount on the price. So the class is going to be held live on Monday, June 17th at 9:00 a.m. Mountain Standard Time over Zoom. You're also going to meet with other women who have experienced similar life challenges, and connecting with other women with the same beliefs and feeling validated in your circumstance is also a transformational experience. But you can keep your camera off if you're shy, and you'll have lifetime access to the recording of the class. So if you can't make it live to class, you can have immediate access right after to watch it when it's over. And these are skills that will apply to any area of your life. Anytime you feel yourself becoming stressed or overwhelmed or unfocused, come watch the replay and refresh your ability to use the skills. All right, I hope to see you in class in a couple weeks. So click the link in my show notes and get signed up today for class. In fact, the best way to take this class is with a friend. So click the link, register, and then send it to a couple of your friends so that you can hold each other accountable to attend class and use the skills after. Thank you for listening to the LDS Mental Health Podcast. I hope you were able to find ways of healing, guidance, and peace. If you liked this episode, please share it with a friend who would love to start thinking in a higher and holier way as well. Or hit that follow button so you don't miss out on any episodes. Also, check out the links in my show notes for other episodes you might like and links for other mental health resources on my website.